joy. Hello, love. Hello, strength. Hello, hope. It's a new horizon. Hello, peace. Hello, joy. Hello, love. Hello, strength. Hello, hope. It's a new horizon. Yeah. It's a new horizon. If somebody lift those hands tonight. It's a new horizon. I need you to speak it over your own life tonight. It's a new horizon. It's a new horizon.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the Propel Deep Dive. I'm Megan DiMartino, and I am thrilled that you're here today with us. Just a little bit about the Propel Deep Dive, if you don't know. This is a live that we do every week, as well as a podcast. And this has been since the March of 23, when we had started the Propel Deep Dive. But before that, I was doing Unique Leaders Live and podcast, and that you'll find on YouTube, as well as now the Propel Deep Dive. My heart is to share individual stories that you can hear their story and resonate with it. I have built several skincare brands and a luxury day and medical spa, and I'm off to doing a wellness clinic right now. But with that said, I felt in 20, it was important for me to give back to you. So I started working on the Propel Your Business and Life Activation Program and put that together with 5 workbooks and 5 videos and interactive with myself, with you. So that is the Propel Your Business and Life Activation Program. And then from there, I started building the brand of the Propel community. And in that Propel community, you receive a little bit of inspiration and encouragement daily, a newsletter of information and encouragement, and then notifications of deep dives like tonight and other events and trainings that we have done and continue to do. It's all about you. So with that, I have a very special guest this evening, and she is going to share her story. And as I said earlier, you are going to hear yourself in this. Maybe not exactly the story, but the story of encouragement, the story of courage, the story of moving forward, the story of hope. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you my special guest, Vidya Moorthy. Hello, my dear.
Hello. Hello. And thank you so much for having me here.
Well, Vidya, I met you several years ago, and I met you at an event that you were the keynote speaker with. And your not only topic and how what you spoke about, but how you spoke just so impressed me and resonated with me. And I said to myself, I need to get to know this person. So over time, and I introduced myself that evening to you and your husband and your daughters. And so over time, we've gotten to know each other a bit. And I came to an event that you spoke at, one of the local Chamber of Commerce here in the Austin market several months back. And you were speaking about there's just the global world. And so your wisdom and knowledge, it just is so rich and so important to share with others. So I felt it was very important to have you on, the deep dive now, sooner than later. And also I shouldn't say that, I read, but then didn't understand that it was your now taking over the gauntlet of this, so of the Austin businesswomen. So I'm so thrilled that you are, A, and B, because that is where we met at the gala several years back. But B is that you can share about this with our guest with the deep dive. So I want you to just share with our guests a little bit about you. Go back to young Vidya and a little bit about your background, and take us to the steps in that bring you closer to today, where it's not a monologue. So meaning I will ask questions through this, but go back to young Vidya, and where did you grow up? And share a little bit about that and more to the adult.
Thank you so much, Megan. I think it is truly an honor to be a part of your magnificent effort. I know that you are really a pillar in the community with so much experience and wisdom that I think come together to uh, just snowball and do so much good in the community, and all your efforts to nurture and give back. I just want to acknowledge all of the things that you've accomplished in your career and are still continuing to do so. Uh,
Thank you.
so, Megan, mine is a 4 quadrant story, right? I mean, it's all over the place, guys. I really don't know where to start. But what I can say, and what I do want to start off with, is that I am in a very blessed place. I'm very grateful, and I'd like to start with that sense of gratitude. I'm grateful for I think the challenges that have come my way, for the disadvantages that I've had in the past, or I continue to have, because I think it makes me do two things. It makes me propel, and it makes me dive deep.
Mhm.
And I think in order to just be really succinct about my story, I come from a small family, and from a small city in South India. I was born into a joint family system, which essentially means that my father, my grandparents, my father's brothers, their wives, my cousins, we all lived under the same roof. So we were a group of 23 people that were living in a pretty humble home as I grew up. And every uncle and aunt was like having another set of parents, because everybody watched over the kids. And I went to an exceptional high school. My parents believed in the power of education, and so they were determined to put me through one of the best high schools in India, actually. And this particular, I think, decision. I laid the foundation, I think, for my own passion for education. And
Mhm.
in India, unlike here, you pay for the K through 12 education system. So
Mhm.
it's not free. It is free in the government sector, but those schools are limited for those that are economically disadvantaged.
Mhm.
So I did go to a pretty expensive school. Um, and I was taught, I think, early on about um, the ability to get along with people, because I lived in a house with so many authority figures. And so everybody had their own personality. And so if you even wanted a cookie, one said yes and the other said no. And so I think the ability to be malleable truly from within, I think, is was inculcated into all of us from a very early age.
Mhm.
I then did my undergrad, in business, and I did my MBA in finance. And I always liked and wanted to be part of the world of public relations, advertising, communication. That was really my dream. And so that was something that I could not pursue up until that point. As you mentioned in your introduction, I came to the United States more than 26 years ago. And when I came here, I worked for a little bit, and I went to Michigan State and got my second master's in advertising and public relations. And I think I have what I do. I'm just going to encapsulate it as briefly as I can. I have a company in India. It's called Bassett Education India. I have a company in Austin. It's called Pluro. I'm the president of Austin Businesswoman, and I do serve on a bunch of boards um, that call out to me in very specific and deep ways.
Mhm.
Just those organizations and the kind of work that they do.
Mhm.
Um,
So, Vidya, I would like to just have you share, though, before we go into more of the current and business, because this piece, in my opinion, is a foundation piece to you and who you are.
mhm,
Because when I heard your story about your arrange. I'm not asking you to share the whole story, but basically share with our guests that are with us a bit about, because you shared about the structure of your home, and so share about the culture and the tradition in India of an arranged marriage, because you mentioned coming to Detroit, Michigan, and getting your second MBA. Okay, that is absolutely great, fabulous. But how did you get to Detroit, Michigan?
Yeah, that is, of course, a huge part of our lives, and it's, I think, the central part of our lives. My parents really believed in the power of education, and they did all they can to give me and my sibling. I have one older brother, the best when it came to education. And in our culture, we parents were hesitant to let us date. In the way that the Western world knows it. So we were all encouraged to have arranged marriages. And to describe the system, I think it's a pretty interesting system because it has its own inherent advantages, Megan.
Mm-hmm.
You meet a guy, you get a chance to, but how do you find this guy? It's basically because your parents, they kind of work through their own network, and they find families that they think are suitable for you. In India, a marriage is truly a wedding of two families coming together. Uh, Traditionally, the daughter leaves and she goes and lives with her husband and her husband's family. So it's a little bit different from the way it is here in the US. And I think that my parents were willing to give me multiple options. They were extremely patient with me. So, for lack of another word, they got, I guess, so many different proposals. I would get photographs of guys and almost like a bio that went with it. And I would have a chance to meet them and to talk to them and just explore compatibility in a conversation. But it wasn't. We weren't allowed to date in the strict sense of the word. So what
Mm-hmm.
we were allowed is to have a private conversation uh, for about 45 minutes or an hour, and then we had to pretty much make up our mind, and you could say yes if you felt comfortable, or you could say no. So there was a certain right of refusal to that extent. And so my husband and I, Shri is his name, and when Shri and I met, we had about the same 45-50 minutes, and we really did have to make up our mind. And as absurd as this sounds, um, the and now as I'm parenting, an almost 22-year-old, what comes to my mind is how well my parents kind of knew me,
Mm-hmm.
and how much they're right about life. You go through your teens and you're certain your parents know little about everything, and then you move on through life and you struggle to almost be like them, and you realize that you fall utterly short of that. But I think my parents did the right thing. They found and helped me find a good partner. And Shri at that time was already an industrial engineer. He was working in Detroit, and that's how I came to Detroit. And I gotta tell you though, when you have an arranged marriage, the first year is kind of tricky, right? Because you're thrown together in this strange land. If for me it was then, and you don't have and the world wasn't what it is today in terms of social media or even phone calls that we have available today. So it was really putting you off on a plane with a stranger, and you go off to the other side of the world, and who knows when you'll be able to come back, and what that place looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a thing that's, I think, it was a dream for me because I always wanted to travel the world and to broaden my own exposure, as
Mm-hmm.
a person, as a professional. But when I came here, with his support, I was working initially before I went back as a student to school here in
Mhm.
Michigan, because I did have to save up for my tuition by the time I went back. But overall, I would say that when you pack up and leave, and when you distance yourself from all things and people familiar, from value systems and beliefs,
Mhm.
from relationships and friendships, and just replant yourself in another place, I think it compels you, or
Mhm.
and to raise the bar on yourself.
Mhm.
You have no choice but to not just survive, but to thrive.
Yes. Yes.
You re-engineer your inner self,
Mhm.
uh, in order to fit in,
Mhm.
not just fit in, but contribute and give back.
Assimilate to the world
As-
here.
yeah, assimilate, but you want to rise above assimilate and be
Mm.
able to give back
I see.
to your adopted motherland.
Mhm.
And in our culture, we have this concept. It's a Sanskrit term, for the two different kinds of land that we all have. And the
Mhm.
one is, the land that you were born, and the other is the land where you perform your deeds.
Mhm.
And so there is a lot of piety in both of them. And
Mhm.
so I wanted to do good and stay true by that piety. And I
Mhm.
think as I moved through college and my initial work years here, um, it deeply transformed me, Megan. It challenged what I knew. It defined me as a person, as a professional, as a parent. I was brave enough to acknowledge and deconstruct, past, I think, years in my life. and
Mhm.
and deconstruction, as it's a very familiar term in psychology. It's a very painful process,
Yes.
and it forces you to look at the mirror and to say things to yourself that you really don't want to hear.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Because today the world has, it's this contrast of no foundation to a very, very firm foundation that you were brought up in. And today, with relativism, what's good for me is good for me, just really isn't working. But regardless of that, how that came to be, and I don't want to go all into this, but it's just been breaking down the traditions and mores, and so then you come to this place of relativism where you were brought up with the extreme of that, but how it helped you in good stead when you were in a place where you had to really redevelop or develop from there because you were a young woman. And so to me, I just so respect you from on so many levels, but from also the person who you're lots of fun and you're beautiful and you're just sweet. And I met your husband and your daughters, as I mentioned earlier, and they're delightful. And so what you have built in your life, to me, is the way families in life should be, because it is about that respect. And you have tremendous respect, and you can see it not only for your husband and your family, but also people that you engage with in business and life. It's very clear, meaning we met, and shortly after that, and I reached out to you. I came up to you. Yes, I did. But you wanted to know then about me. So it wasn't just this superficial meeting. And so I'd love you to share with our guests how important that is to you, meaning to get to know, because you came just like you did to Detroit, you came to Austin, Texas, and did not know a soul. So share with our guests how important not only networking is, okay, great, but to have a relationship.
So, thank you for that question, Megan. I think you hit the nail on its head when I think you identified what's really important to me. As a person, again, and as a professional, I'd like to refer to some of the studies that are put out by the Ivy League and by McKinsey that talks about the quality of life and the advice that we all get from people who live to be more than 100 years old. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that, it's true. Everything that we have is pretty fleeting.
Mm-hmm.
It comes in and it goes. And the quality of life and the happiness quotient of our lives, I think, as we all age and get older and get ready to leave the planet, is fully and entirely dependent on the quality of the relationships that we have. So I come to every person with the honest and pure intention of wanting to know about them, about their lives, about their value systems, about their desires, about their fears. And it is it enriches my life in more ways than one can imagine for me to come into Austin, Texas, and to build all of these beautiful, deep relationships and friendships that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if one removes and deletes uh, motive for every meeting, then the quality of the meeting improves. So if I don't have a motive when I see you, Megan, when I come by and I just want to see your spa because I'm curious about what you do,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to see how you changed the beauty industry in your time, how you became a stalwart in the community. uh, there are huge things that divide us, right? I mean, uh, we just have to open up a news channel, right? And it's there, it's staring at our faces. And of course we're all trying to struggle and plow through a time that is more polarized than ever before and more isolating than ever before. But at which point, Megan, are we going to say thus far and no further? I don't care which way you vote, which way to whom you pray. I care about you as a person, and I respect everything that you have accomplished. And I look forward to be able to lean on you if I ever need to. And sure as heck, you can lean on me if if I can help.
Amen. Amen. Well, it is so what you just said too about just the polarization and the just the challenge that you said something very key about uh, separation, but also it's driving people to be alone and separate, and that is a dangerous thing. Because again, back to if you take that contrast to how you grew up with all of, whether you could have a cookie or not have a cookie, people cared though. You knew that auntie, cared if she said no, And so it is that caring. And to me, that is one of the things that you and I, meaning caring about the other person and not an agenda, like you said, not to go with any agenda or motive, in the word you used, to a meeting and meeting someone. And it's very clear that that is why I do all of this work. That is why I do it. And, one of the 5 C's is commitment. And last week, or one of the most recent shows, one of my guests, Vidya, could not join us. He got sick, and then he was going to a business trip, which he could not get out of.
Mhm.
So it didn't align with the filming. So I did the segment myself.
Wow.
And one of the things I said in the segment, though, is back to the 5 C's, is commitment. And I was not going to not have any. I mean, I could have pulled out another segment, but it will, or got someone to come sooner. But it really wasn't what should be, because it was going to cause chaos with my producer and my team. So I just said, you know what? I'm going to do it myself. So the real point of the sharing that, though, is the word commitment. And you personally are committed to making a difference, and commit. And I know you always have, because again, you shared that on some level every time I hear you speak. But how important is, so you have your own business, and it's a communications company, and you have a business in India as well. And how important is commitment, not only to your business, but also to the individuals, meaning, like you said, it's not just about the net of the business, but what you're doing in the business. How important is commitment to you?
Well, it defines the purpose of your existence, doesn't it? Uh,
Yes,
it's as simple as that.
it is.
Is why do you do what you do? And if you have a clear answer to that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think how you could shirk when it comes to your commitment levels. Um, I've learned, Megan, that sometimes some wishers, when I told them I was moving to Texas,
Mm-hmm.
they were like, oh, you Texas is a whole another kind of place. It's not like Michigan. It's not like New York. And when I came here and when I started networking, soon enough, I found myself in San Antonio or giving talks in Dallas. And while I was doing these other larger cities, I also found myself in smaller towns like Snyder, Texas, or Lubbock.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went there, the first thing that struck me is, in smaller towns in Texas, most of the people are truly simple. It's based on faith. It's
Mm-hmm.
based on conservative values, and it's based on, I think, a certain amount of importance to family and friendships and
Mm-hmm.
people, their immediate families.
Yes.
To be honest with you, that's how South India was. It
Mm-hmm.
was about, being conservative. It was about faith, and it was all about family and friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I could instantly relate to all of them, in spite of the fact that, maybe physically or even in life experience, I couldn't differ more from them. So it brings me back to, I think, my commitment to not just provide communication and professional development services, but
Mm-hmm.
to help people just become better versions of themselves, right? And in order to gain competencies um, that they think they could not get, uh,
Mm-hmm.
or one of the things that I looked up when I moved to Texas, Megan, was I read up the reports from the Workforce Commissioner's Office for the state of Texas. And one of the things that it said there was 7 out of 10 families in Texas don't have access to 4-year education because it's probably cost prohibitive or due to any other reason. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, that was just downright unacceptable. It
Mm-hmm.
should not be acceptable. With institutions like we have a
Yes.
roster of public and private universities that are just
Yes.
stunning institutions, and to not have access to that. So in my capacity now, I think as president of Austin Businesswoman, I think
Mm-hmm.
one of my main, I think, commitments and my whys would be to not just help people build a network of concrete resources, but also help them embark on professional and personal development opportunities
Mm-hmm.
that enhance their own domain knowledge, that enhance their knowledge of business and strategy and
Yes.
money, and how you can really scale up your business and how you can grow it. Because I am honored to belong to this community of super brave women, right? I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
you've done it. This is not an easy thing to do, to be responsible for cash flows and to be able to hire people and be responsible for all of that. Yeah. So coming back, I think, to me, it's all about commitment. That's, I think, why my arranged marriage has been working for
Mhm,
26 years.
mhm,
I think that's why I've been working. I'll give you another example. When I first, the day I graduated, um, for, let me go back a little bit. When I was in my master's class at Michigan State, we had a guest lecturer. And after his guest lecture, he owned a business group in Detroit. So I was a student and I was trying to get an internship. So after the class, I walked up to him and said, "May I walk you to your car?" So that I could have some time to have a
mm,
conversation with him. And he said, "Of course." And so I walked him up and we got talking, and his name was Leland Bassett. And his wife, Tina Bassett, they started the business group, Bassett and Bassett, whom I worked for so many years, was vice president of client services for North America before they moved me to Asia to manage APAC. And that's where I set up Bassett Education India. And of course, I still manage that organization today.
right,
And this is a great example
yes,
of the amount of respect that I have for Leland and Tina, and
mhm,
love, to be honest, that I have for them and how much I've learned from them.
mhm,
It's almost my commitment to them to
mhm,
continue to grow, you know.
yes,
So,
yes,
so
yes,
it's what else is life if it's not the sum total of a few relationships that we build?
exactly, exactly. And but the other stunning thing that it just jumps out to me is that you were I don't want to say you were so impressed by him, but you knew that you wanted to connect with him. And what better way to connect with him in a more personal level is to walk him to his car. So I assure you that he was impressed by that as well. You know that. And but your relationship started from there. It doesn't mean that you couldn't have sent him a letter or whatever, but it was that personal connection that started that whole career path for you. And the reason I asked you also about commitment, tying it together to who you are and whose you are, so to speak, your family and so forth, is that today, not only is the world, the foundation is like a quicksand, but what I see from a business position, and that's why what you just said about your vision and goal for Austin businesswomen taking it forward is so important, because what I see is that people are not committed. They say, "Oh, I want to do something," but they're not A, clear on what that is. That's why clarity is so important. But B, they may identify in a loose genre what they want to do, but then if goings get tough, they get going and do not commit to it. So it's about, but they don't have that foundation, Vidya. And so it's about us instilling, or at least exposing, the mindset of committing to what is your heart, what you want to do. So that is why I wanted you to go there, because it's so challenging to see, because and it's getting more so. I know you talk to many people, and they keep quality people working for them, whether it's a restaurant or a corporation. People just have no forget code of ethics. It's back to commitment. So in our own little way, my friend, we will make that difference and help people take those steps, and step on. One of the things that we do, or I do, in the deep dive, I don't know if you've ever read Think and Grow Rich, um,
Mhm.
and the Napoleon Hill, but Sharon Lechter is now on the board of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, but she independently wrote a book with Greg Reed called 3 Feet from Gold. And in that book, excuse me, she shares her success formula. It's a a fiction, but she sprinkles herself throughout it. and she has what she calls her success formula. I'm not going to go into the whole success formula, but there are two factors to it: your passion and your purpose. And I ask every guest, what is your passion and what is your purpose?
Well, can it be the exact same thing?
Yes, and then often it
The
is.
exact same thing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Often it
I
is.
I think my passion and my purpose is to grow and to help others grow.
Mhm.
And I am all about, moving forward. And it doesn't just have to be professionally; it could be personally as well. So that's what I think effective communicators do. They try to, help other people uh, build these relationships with different kinds of audiences that help them grow, help their companies grow. So whether you want, your product to sell a little bit more, you want more contracts, more agreements, more clients, more relationships. That's really what I'm trying to do here, Megan. And I do want to say, what you said before about the importance of commitment. And I think that uh, it is terrifying to see, I think, how some of the fundamental blocks in society are really being shaken by an upsurge of I think, a different set of values. And I think that all of us are perhaps not doing right by the younger generations that come behind us.
Mhm.
And I wish that we would make a more conscious and purposeful effort to
Mhm.
leave a world for them.
Mhm.
Um, we already are incapable of leaving it as we found it, but hopefully we
Mhm.
hopefully we'll leave it better than it is today, at least.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons, honestly, I have loved doing what I've done over the last 30 some odd years, meaning mentoring young women, specifically women. When it was just my skincare brand selling to wholesale distributors, we had teams all over the country because we did many, many trade shows and workshops and classes, but also at the Luxury Day and Medical Spa in Georgetown, Texas, the large spa. I had women working for me over 10 years of Vidya, and that's unheard of in the spa industry and that, or the salon industry. And that is truly because of instilling in them just a pride of what we were doing, how we were doing it, and then learning and growing. I motivated them with various things as to enable their careers to grow. And so, I was mentoring them all along the way. And now all of them have left and started their own businesses. So it's very gratifying to me to see how they have flourished, through that mentoring. And I agree 100%. That's one of the reasons I keep saying this, why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I feel very, very um, motivated but it's incumbent upon me to continue to instill in people that the core principles of building a business. But without it, you cannot build it without clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, and compassion. And compassion in the scope of the Propel Business and Life. I'm going to ask you this question to Business and Life Activation Program. Um, Compassion is compassion for yourself, because you said it earlier, we make so many mistakes along the way, and that can stop us in our tracks as well, meaning that you say, that lesser than, or I'm not going to stick my neck out again, I'm not going to take a chance again, and so you stop in your tracks, which is the worst thing, because again, then you're never going to take that to the bank. You won't get going if you stop. So it's about continuing to keeping on. But the name of the program, Vidya, is Business and Life, because from my experience personally, as well as what I have observed in other entrepreneurs, that if you do not have a life and you have a business, you've just created another job for yourself. So you have to be aware of your personal life and that has needs just as well as your business. Just speak to that for a minute, because you have a successful, and I'm sure that's part of the philosophy of your culture, meaning to integrate life and your career.
So I don't think I have a professional life and a personal life that are so disparate that I can, switch my personality into those two types of videos. I just don't know how I can do that. All I know is that the person who wakes up, the person who hugs my daughters, is the same person who shows up in the office.
That's right.
And so I think that when you function with that authentic self of who you are and what you need, they're just different aspects of your life. I mean, you can't put the salad you can't have the salad in a restaurant and then go for the pasta to a second one and then the dessert to the third one. It's all on the same table. So I think it's a lot like that. uh,
Mhm.
and I think that when you function with that with the cognizance that you cannot afford to drop the ball on any one of these aspects,
Mhm.
whether it's your family or if it's your work or if it's just you and taking care of yourself from within, taking care of your health, taking care of your social circle, taking
Mhm.
care of aging parents, taking care of your wealth and money. There's really no dropping the ball. You don't have a choice, because that's what we all do is we keep it all up in the air at the same time. And when one of us, I think, when any of us, function with that knowledge that, hey, this is how it is. And there are two things that I'd like to say. One, it's so visible, yeah, Megan, that it's almost like you can't put a lid on the ocean. And so it shows. The I'd like to quote here, Jordan Peterson. If you know who he is, I'm sure you've listened to him. And
Mhm.
he says that the meaning of life is found under the burden of responsibility.
Mhm.
And so, while we can all, I think, take a moment of silence and pity ourselves for how hard it is. Uh, the other way to look at it is, oh my gosh, I have to go to the bank today and I have to get that done. It's only because you have the money. Or, oh gosh, I got to show up to this PDA, or I got to help my kid get her resume together to apply for an internship. It's because you have a child. And so
Mhm.
if you looked at the blessing rather than the responsibility that comes with it, I
Mhm.
think that's where you'd find the meaning of why you exist.
Yeah.
I have a huge event, Megan, coming up on the 29th of August.
Yes, I wanted you to share about this. Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I have a huge event coming up on the 29th of August, and it's going to be at this magnificent facility called Facilities Resources in Cedar Park. And it's the annual gala for Austin businesswomen. So here's a shout out to everyone in Austin to show up with a tinge of red. And tickets are on sale right now at austinbusinesswoman.com. And we look forward to this day of celebration, because it's truly a coming together of different people in the community, lots of men that support us as well. Uh,
Mhm.
and most of us there are women, and each of them has a stunning story. And we have room for about a little more than 200, about 225 people are expected, and
Mhm.
which means that there are 225 incredible stories there.
Mhm.
And so, tying that in with what you had asked me about, I think that if you look at the bigger picture, and if you look at the forest instead of looking at the trees, you'll see that for it to appear monochromatic and it to appear all green is probably because maybe in so many ways the trees are the same.
Mhm. Love that. Love that. That reminds me a bit of what you spoke that first Austin businesswomen about the formation of the birds.
Mhm.
Hmm. Hmm. So you have taken over this, position recently of the president, or CEO. And when I mentioned earlier that, that you are the president and but knowing you, let me just say it this way, knowing you and knowing your heart and knowing what you want to do, and starting with this large gala and this event, which I think is brilliant. What is your vision for Austin business women going forward? If you could share us just a kind of a sneak peek, if you want to, I would love to know what your vision is.
Well, I hope that over a period of time, every member of Austin Businesswoman feels stronger, bolder, and more powerful in the true sense of the word.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to, all of us, I think, to have access to tangible resources, people, organizations that they can reach out in order to grow their businesses, to support their efforts in any way. I want them to feel a deep sense of community amongst each other and know that they're not alone at all. And that, just by virtue of being a member of ABW, you have the backing of a much larger supportive community. And I think that, I want them to look at ABW as your 5 C's, Megan. I want them to feel a sense of courage. I want them to know that you're surrounded by compassionate people who are committed. And if I could add another C to,
Please.
I would say competency.
Mm-hmm.
And so to add, I think, competency to your already incredible portfolio, because the world around us is changing so fast, right? And it's just what we do with ourselves, and it's a voluntary choice that we make to
Mm-hmm.
invest in ourselves and to keep on learning and relearning. So uh, the option is to become quickly obsolete otherwise.
Yes,
And so I hope that as a community, the women kind of know that they can lean on others, that they feel bolder,
great.
stronger, and more powerful.
Great. I was hoping you would say something like that, meaning almost like a resource center where we can, like we've been talking about in this segment, how it's incumbent upon us to help others lift up, and that we can all lock arms, join together, and help each other and help the next generation of women, because there's a lot of fabulous women here in the Austin, Texas market. It's a very robust market and very diverse. And so it's exciting to have you.
And it's only $75 for the entire year. So I'm hoping that more women will realize
Yeah,
that it's a worthwhile investment
oh, for
in
sure.
in ABW.
Mhm.
And we look forward to hosting this gala. And we're so excited, so honored that Sharonda Robinson, and the
Yes.
CEO of Austin Women's Magazine, is going to be our guest of honor.
Mhm.
We have an amazing lineup, a fabulous list of panelists that will be attending as well. And I cannot wait to share that, but I'll wait for the news to be out on our social media before I share that on a public platform.
Mhm.
But I'm delighted and honored and beyond thrilled that less than 3 years ago, I did not know more than 3 people in Austin, and it
Exactly.
started off over coffees. And
Yeah.
all I did was set up meeting after meeting, and I drove all around the greater Austin area having coffees. Megan, at one point I said, "Oh, my goal is to have 3 coffees a week." And then it snowballed into a time, I think in 2023, that I was early 2023, late
Mhm.
2022, where I was having 4 coffees a day.
Right.
And I would just go, I would just map it all out. And
Mhm.
oh
Mhm.
gosh, Starbucks has become so rich because of me.
But
But
it gets back to that commitment, meaning we said this earlier. I mean, that's how we met. Yes, I reached out, hello, and what I very much enjoyed your talk, but yet you then continued on inviting me to coffee, and I wanted you, though, to come up to see, like you said earlier, to what I do. So you wanted to know all about me. It wasn't just this superficial, as you said, agenda that you had. So guys you are listening to this. This is the commitment. She's clear on her mission, vision, values. That courage to get out there. She knew 3 people. That confidence that propelled her on to committing, and then of course compassion, and compassion for others and compassion for herself. And she is now taking the gauntlet from the gal that started Austin Businesswomen and is taking it on, propelling it on to the next step. I couldn't be more thrilled for you, proud for you, and you are just a treasure. And I'm blessed to know you, my friend, and call you friend. So
Thank you. Thank you. I look up to you always for your wisdom, for your inspiration. I think you are very careful about, the way that you spend your time.
Very much so.
And so I think there are many lessons in there for all of us. Thank you for having me here. I look forward to engaging with your community much
Mhm.
more. I hope to see you, Megan, at the gala, and for anybody else, tickets
Will
are on
be.
sale. I do want to say thank you to Olga Adler, who is the founder of Austin Businesswoman, and I think without her support, I don't think I wouldn't understand what's happening around me. So she makes me feel a whole lot smarter. So thank you, thank you, Olga, for that.
And she's
And
a fabulous gal herself. She is. Yes.
she is, isn't she? So yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for this awesome community in Austin, to all of you. And when I was looking at the title of your slide as you were introducing me, and I was thinking about Propel and the words deep dive, and I was like, it's interesting that you use those 2 words, because I don't think you can propel unless you deep dive.
Amen. Amen. You cannot. You cannot. Otherwise, it's a broad brushstroke. You slide through, you change it. All of the structure of everything we've spoken about today could not be. To propel your life, you have to go within. Amen. Amen. Well, my friend, thank you, Vidya, for
Thank
joining
you.
me today. And I look forward to continuing on, but also helping you really propel Austin Businesswomen. I mean that sincerely. I'm very thrilled that you're doing it, because it means a lot to me. But I, like you said, I value my time. I don't have a lot of time. But I do want to continue to support the Austin women community. Very important. So thank you. Love
It's a
you.
pleasure to be here. Love you too, Megan. Thank you so much for having me and for this hour. Thank you, Megan, once again.
Thank you, dear. And be in the green room if you'd like. I'll be there in a minute.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What a very special time. I call it Propel Deep Dive Global because I interview people from all over the world. But, and it's a big but, in that my guests, whether they're in the United States or not, like the video today, originally is from India. So it's this global network that is creating a tapestry for us all to see, to know that we're not alone in this world, and we're all here as a resource center to help each other grow and build. So go to YouTube. You can watch the replay. The replay is also on my Facebook page, my personal page, but it certainly is on YouTube. It will be up on all the podcasting platforms very soon, if not today. But also, when you go to YouTube, please subscribe, because it does truly help others to find us. It's been streamed onto Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and of course, YouTube. So we will see you next week for another fabulous guest and the Propel Deep Dive. Be blessed.
Hello, peace. Hello.